What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Universal Mastery. Welcome back to my public YouTube channel. If you're new, let me give you a little bit of an understanding of what I do here. What I do here is I break down the occult sciences and I break them down to a very practical degree so that you can simply use them and apply them in your day-to-day life and get real, actual results with what it is that I'm teaching here on my public channel, simply by applying your observation and awareness. Okay? Welcome back if you are a reoccurring viewer. But if you're someone who's new, let me break down a little bit of an understanding of who I am so that you know who you're getting this information from. My name is Jeremiah Schwartz. I am a professional occultist. I am fully initiated in the entirety of the Kabbalistic tree. I'm studied when it comes to the 22 major arcana of that same tree, and I'm also studied when it comes to planetary energies in direct association with astrology. Okay? So with all that being said, what exactly is going to be the topic of our today's video? Okay? The topic of our today's video is going to be around how to recognize an enlightened being. Okay? How do you know when you're in the presence, or even if you are someone that is, how do you know if you're around someone that is an enlightened being? Or once again, how do you know if you're even an enlightened being? Okay? If this is something that you are a little bit interested in and you want to know a little bit more about, then definitely stay tuned for the rest of this video. Okay, so let's go into it. So I'm going to be discussing a couple traits of what a quote-unquote enlightened being is. Okay, well, first thing first, let's understand what enlightened means. Okay, so there's a very strong New Age perspective where people throw around the word enlightened, I'm enlightened, or even the idea of being woke, okay, woke, the woke community, or whatever the case is. This is New Age, okay? There are a lot of people that claim they are enlightened. There are a lot of people that claim they are woke. These words sound very strange to someone like me. And as I said, people are throwing around these words as if they carry no substance. A lot of people say these words and all they've had was a spiritual experience, which is actually normal for the human species once you start embracing your soul's evolution. But just because you have a spiritual experience, and just because that experience shows you things that are outside of the boundaries that are confined to just the physical plane, does not necessarily and inherently mean you are now an enlightened being, okay? There is a process to truly becoming an enlightened being. Truly what it means to be enlightened is it means you have the ability to graduate from this density of a planet after you die. Okay, so what that means is that your soul essentially has the ability to ascend into a different higher density because you were able to learn the lessons that were necessary within this planetary sphere, and therefore you were either positively polarized or you were negatively polarized enough to ascend out of this third density planetary sphere, so to speak. That's truly what it means to be enlightened. Okay, you are eligible to ascend in regards to your soul's evolutionary process. There are many, the majority of the human species are going to have to repeat the third density cycle, which means they have to repeat this lifetime, this type of life experience, I should say, as a human being dealing with all this catalyst, all these pains, sufferings, confusions that come with this density. And that's just a fact, okay? So let's go into it. So what are the real signs when you see someone who is an enlightened being, okay? One of the biggest things that you'll recognize when you are coming across someone who is an enlightened being is the fact that this individual does not partake in duality, meaning they don't live in duality. Okay, let me try to give you a little bit of an explanation of what I'm saying here. These individuals that are enlightened don't live in dualistic thinking. Okay, and when I say that, when I say live in dualistic thinking, what I'm meaning by that is that dualistic thinking does not control their consciousness. Okay, so between the concepts of good and bad, good and evil, light and dark, this type of perspective is not something that consumes the consciousness and dictates the actions and behaviors of a true enlightened being. Here's the reason why. A true enlightened being is always going to recognize positive and negative. Now, an enlightened being may gravitate more so towards one of these pathways, being the positive path or the negative path, but overall, the true enlightened being is going to understand the necessity of duality. Therefore, let's say, for example, you are a positively oriented being and you're looking at a negatively oriented being, basically creating negative experiences, or let's say the positive oriented being comes into contact with a negative oriented being, and the positive being sees that the negative being has a lot of negative perspectives, a lot of negative doctrine, a lot of negative philosophy, so to speak. Now, the positive being, the true enlightened being in this case, would recognize, oh, this individual is on their evolutionary path. They're doing what's right for their evolution, doing what is necessary and in congruency with their soul's evolution, being on the negative path. Although this path is not necessarily the path that I'm on, and it probably does not serve me to be, really absorbing the information from this negative being, I still understand that this being is on their evolutionary path and they're doing what is necessary for their proper growth. Therefore, a complete understanding of the negative polarity, even though this individual was positively polarized. Okay, so it's not that the positive individual was looking at the negative individual saying, you're wrong, you're evil, this is not okay, we need to stop you. I need to get a group of other people that are positively oriented and we need to put an end to you. See, this is a sign of somebody, if they're behaving in that way, who is trapped within duality. Okay, so once again, when you're coming across somebody who is truly enlightened, they are very aware of the necessity of duality itself, but they are not trapped within dualistic thinking. They understand themselves. There is a true self-understanding. There is true wisdom from experience, and there is true self-knowledge, understanding what path they gravitate towards to the most. But then there is an overall acceptance of whatever other paths exist and whatever other direction people may be walking in, whether it's the left, the right, or just in the center as lukewarm. There's an acceptance. There's a recognition that not everyone is the same as yourself in regards to the soul expression. Okay? We are all connected to the source, but we have different ways of expressing our souls in regards to how we evolve up the densities to get closer to that same source. Okay? So once again, to wrap that up, the first trait is someone who is not caught up and someone who is not consumed by duality, but rather is aware of it and plays their role in duality itself. They just play their role and they accept all the other perspectives. Okay? Now, let's go into the second trait of someone who is an enlightened being. Okay? When you come across an enlightened being, you are going to notice that these individuals do not take life as seriously as the average individual does. Okay, so what exactly do I mean by that? What I'm not saying is that these individuals divorce themselves from reality or divorce themselves from the physical plane and just do not care about their life at all. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that these individuals literally do not take life as seriously as the average individual. So the majority of the human species in our today's time is constantly using their mind, constantly using their own willpower combined with their mind to create circumstances through their visualization and imaginations where they are in a constant state of stress. Let me give you a little bit of an example. How many individuals have you come across, or maybe you would notice this within yourself, if you've ever done this before in the past, or if you're still doing this, where you literally create scenarios in your head that are stressful scenarios, and part of the reason why you create those scenarios is because it gives you a sense of energy to keep moving, okay? I know this sounds strange, but this is what a lot of people do. It's called having an overactive mind, basically trying to produce a form of action taking, okay? Like, let me give you an example. So, you could have an individual that says, I need to go to the market. I have no groceries in my fridge. I need to go to the market now. I need to go to the market now. And they keep repeating that in their mind. I need to go to the market now. I have no groceries. I have to get this done today. I have so many other things I got to get done today, but I have to go to the market now. I have to go to the market now. This type of individual that is doing this with their mind is creating a mental scenario where they are putting pressure on themselves to go to the market, in this case, as if it is a life and death situation, okay? Basically adding so much more stress than what there actually needs to be to the situation. So when you're dealing with someone who is constantly perceiving, using their mental capabilities and their free power of will to make circumstances seem so serious as if everything is life and death, then you're going to come across these individuals and you're going to feel stressed out around them. You're going to see that these individuals are not comfortable. They're not at a state of presence. They're always thinking ahead. They're always in the future, and literally 80% of the time, what is in the future for them is something negative. It's something like, okay, if I go to the market, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if they don't have the thing I'm looking for? People, this is very common. A lot of people do this, okay? So when you come across an enlightened being, truly, these beings are in a state of presence, okay? There are a couple words you could say it. A state of presence, a state of internal silence, a state of void, you could even say, okay? So what that means is that a true enlightened being is not thinking truly too far ahead in the future about minuscule things like going to the markets, or what's going to happen when I go and meet this group of people. What's going to happen when I go to this restaurant? What's going to happen when I go to the mall or if I walk down the street? True enlightened beings are in the present moment, meaning we don't waste our energy. And I'm saying we as in myself, I'm speaking as someone who does this. We don't waste our energy consuming ourselves with visualizations and imaginations of what's going to happen in the future, because truly you don't necessarily know what is going to happen in the future until you get there. And sort of by paradox, the best way to control the future is by controlling the present moment through the principle of as within, as without, which means if I'm peaceful or if I'm in a state of internal harmony and I go out, then my environment is most of the times going to reflect that exact state that I have. Now, if I'm someone who's stressed out and I'm creating a lot of internal pressure, whether it's subconscious or conscious, then guess what my environment is going to reflect? My environment is going to reflect that stressed out scenario. It's going to be a lot more chaotic, and actually through the visualizations of these stressful thoughts, I can actually manifest unbeneficial things for my future. So once again, when you're coming across a true enlightened being, this is something that you will always notice. You will feel calm around them, okay? For the most part, you're going to feel safe and you're going to feel calm around these individuals in the regards of not feeling like you're being judged and not feeling like you need to really prove yourself, okay? And actually, this is very interesting, but a lot of times when you come across a real enlightened individual, it can make you feel very uncomfortable because it's very rare that you actually come across these individuals. So let me give you an example. There are so many times where I have conversations with people and I'm in such the present moment and I'm listening to the individual speaking and I'm listening to them saying, I'm listening to them say what it is that they need to say, and I'm just calmly receiving the energy. I'm calmly listening, absorbing everything they're telling me, making sure I actually understand it, and truly listening. Okay, I'm not listening to respond, I'm just listening to receive. Okay, there are so many times where I've done this myself, and the individual who I'm speaking to does not know when to stop talking. Okay, so what does that mean? The individual that is telling me what it is that they need to tell me, they're so used to having conversations with other people that have a stressed out mindset and that are always trying to fill in the blank spaces and always trying to be ahead of the game or take themselves out of the present moment, that when you have two individuals that think that way communicate together, there is no real receiving that's taking place. There's only speaking to be heard. It's almost like an ego gratification over another ego gratification, and that's how the communication takes place between these types of individuals. But when you come across a real enlightened being, we are beings that listen to understand. This is why we're extremely wise. This is why we're powerful. Now, once again, when I communicate with someone who's never spoke to an enlightened being like myself, they get very uncomfortable because they don't know when to shut up. Okay, they don't know when to stop talking. And the reason why they don't know when to stop talking a lot of the times is because they can't silence their minds. They're always looking to respond, to be heard. But when they come across someone like myself that's just listening to listen, truly, they don't know when to stop. They don't know how to, they feel awkward because they know I'm actually listening and they're not used to someone who's ever listened to them. So it's strange to them. Okay, so you may get that similar feeling when you're dealing with someone who is truly enlightened. And I want you to think about it. If you've ever come across someone that you would think with your intuition, this person was definitely enlightened, you'll know a lot of times, especially in the beginning stages when you first start meeting these types of individuals, there is a feeling of awkwardness. It's almost like you're communicating with somebody that is reading your mind. It's like communicating with someone that's reading your body behaviors, your energetic state. It's like they're scanning you and they know you. Okay, so this is another sign of someone who is truly an enlightened being. Okay, they do not take life as seriously and they listen to understand. Okay, now we're going to go into the third one. So the third one, when you come across a true enlightened being, this is going to be one of the most profound principles that any enlightened being has to understand and has to know to literally be considered enlightened. But this is the principle that everything is connected. Okay, when you come across a true enlightened being, and trust me, there are a lot of people that say this concept, they say it logically, and they think they have the knowledge because they know this concept that I'm talking about. Maybe they saw a YouTube video where there's somebody like myself explaining it, but you don't truly understand this concept that everything is connected until you start experiencing your life in that way, which will naturally force you into the present moment because you start realizing that everything you're communicating with is actually yourself and you are the source, which means everything else is the source around you. Everything is connected to the same source, okay? And that forces you in the present moment because that literally means you never know what's going to be attracted to you. You truly never know what you're going to receive to yourself. You never know what another aspect of you has to teach you, so to speak. So the principle, once again, is that everything is connected. Everything truly is connected to the same source. And any enlightened being, even if you're on the negative path, like myself, or if you're on the positive path, understands this key concept, okay? So when you're dealing with somebody who is an enlightened being, you're going to see that they perceive reality in that way as if they're almost interacting with themselves, okay? They're going to see you as an aspect of them, okay? And they're going to see themselves as an aspect of you. They are truly going to see the energetic connection between everything, absolutely everything. There is nothing that is not connected to the source, okay? And this is how they go throughout life. This is how I go throughout life. I understand everything is connected to the same source. Now, because I'm on the negative path, I use that understanding differently than what someone on the positive path would use that. I use the principle of duality a lot more than the average person, which basically means I understand that some people, although we're all connected, some people have put in more effort and therefore have reached higher levels of evolutionary power. And that's basically how you create the separation, basically, from the weak to the strong. There are some people that put in the efforts. There are some people that remain stagnant and resist the effort, resist putting in the work for evolution. And when you're someone who's on the negative path like myself, we take advantage of this principle of duality. Therefore, this is where the separation takes place between people with power and people with less power because of their decision making and their free will. Okay, but once again, at the end of the day, we're still all connected to the source. And this would just be me sharing my perspective on what this principle looks like for someone who's on the negative polarized path like myself. Okay, but at the end of the day, it's all connected. Okay, and that is the third principle. Okay, so these principles that I mentioned within this YouTube video are things that you can use in your daily life to recognize when you're in the presence of someone who is enlightened, or you can reflect within yourself and recognize within you that maybe you carry some of these principles. Therefore, maybe you're enlightened, or maybe you're starting to really become an enlightened being. Okay? So other than that, this is going to wrap it up. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this video, come down here and hit that thumbs up button. Why would you not do that? Then come down here and hit the notification bell, because I post videos as often as I can. And with content like this, you absolutely do not want to be missing out. So go ahead and do that. Okay. Also come down here and hit the subscribe button, because I post videos as often as I can. And these as I said, I post these videos as often as I can. And these videos are obviously valuable. Okay. There's a lot of value that you can get from this content. And if you want to further link into that content and get the most bang for your buck, then subscribe, because there really is an energetic principle that goes behind that. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there. Also, I want to say this. You have my full permission to copy and paste this link and send it out to anyone, family, friends, social media platforms, you name it. You have my full permission to copy and paste it and send it out. My intention is to spread this content like a wildfire and to build up my empire in the process. And that's exactly what I've been doing. Okay. The next thing that I want to say is come down here and add me on Instagram, JER_477. Check me out on social media platforms. Okay. Why not? Okay. The next thing that I want to do is give you a recommendation to join into the private Facebook community. Okay. Completely up to you. If you go into the YouTube description and you scroll down, you're eventually going to come across a post that says private Facebook community. Underneath that post, there's a link. You click that link. Once you click that link, you can follow it. Then it will take you to where you can request to join within the private Facebook community. In this private Facebook community, there are over 460 members. It is being posted on a daily basis. There is tons of valuable information that is within this group. Once again, it's all private. You have to be requested and accepted to get in. If this is something you're interested in, then definitely take advantage of it. You know what to do now. I'm going to leave that there. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the first link in the YouTube description. Click that little arrow drop down. It's the first link at the very top. You cannot miss it. Okay. This is where you can become a Patreon member. Okay. So on my Patreon, I have an entire vault of exclusive occult content where none of this is on my public YouTube channel. Okay. And that is for many different reasons. It is not meant for the public. I have content that ranges from live streams, tons of valuable information, blog posts, tons of valuable information, all the way down to videos that are very similar to this, except they're more advanced and they're more personal. Okay. Then as you move into tier 3 and up, you're gaining access to an entire magic training course which I feel like would be extremely valuable, especially if you're a beginner occultist and you're looking for a structured format to follow to start developing your psychic capabilities, okay? Then as you move into the final tier, this is tier 4. This is not only the top tier, but this is also the most popular tier on the Patreon, which speaks for itself, okay? This is what's called the Universe.B Vampire Service, okay? This is a service that I perform on the participants on the 29th of every single month that has a 29th to completely change the energetic structure of these individuals. So I perform an advanced occult ritual to do this, okay? And I change the energetic structure on these participants to be more so what's called Universe.B dominant, essentially more so negatively polarized, which basically means these individuals have the ability to exist within the darker energy areas and locations of the multiverse without being harmed by them, but rather start developing knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and potential power from them instead, okay? This also gives these individuals the ability to be more so receptive to their unconscious and subconscious mind, which is feminine in nature, and it also gives them the ability to pull in psychic energy from chaos and dark energy from their environment to then transmute into their own power and evolutionary potential, okay? This is the Universe.B Vampire Service. If you would like to take advantage of it, you know what to do. 4th tier, first link in the YouTube description. I'm going to leave it there. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to give a special shout out to everyone specifically who is a Patreon member for taking your knowledge, practices, and your studies to that other side. Huge shout out to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Now, the second link in the YouTube description, go down. You can't miss it. This is where you can book your own personalized tarot card reading from me. This is a tarot card reading that you've never received before. What I can do is I can literally pinpoint exactly where you are on the Kabbalistic tree. I can tell you what you're feeling, experiencing, and going through in the present moment, and then tell you what to expect as you move into your near and your long-term future based on your traveling on that Kabbalistic tree. Okay, I've done well over 550 readings. I have tons of valuable feedback. If this is something you want to take advantage of, second link below, book your reading. Okay, now the third link below is where you can become a YouTube member. As you become a YouTube member, you're gaining access to many different types of benefits. You get a special badge next to your name. You get shout outs whenever I do live streams. You enter into the awesome YouTube community. You have an ability to leave a question that appears in the format of a super chat every single month that I do my live streams, every single month that you're a YouTube member. But most importantly, you gain access to the Psychic Warfare Emoji program, which means that as soon as you become a YouTube member, you have access to a sequence of emojis that I've created myself based on real occult principles that can be used in a certain configuration. Then you link in the name of a target, then you hit enter, and it actually energetically affects that target in a form of psychic warfare, okay? There are well over 1,000 posts where individuals are using this service and have taken advantage of this service. There are even individuals right now in this moment that are using it, okay? If this is something you want to get your hands on, you know what to do. Become a YouTube member, click the third link below, and join into the membership, okay? Now we're going to go on to the fourth link. This is the last link. This is where you can book your EMF incense sticks from me, electromagnetic frequency incense sticks. You can get a 50-pack bundle, okay? These are pre-energetically charged incense sticks that are created by myself with an occult formula that's placed into the sticks, 11 drops of real monatomic gold that soaks into them, which gives them their EMF capabilities. They charge on a liquid base level with real quartz crystals as well as real citrine quartz crystals. And these are not your traditional incense sticks by any means. If you want to try it out, you can compare them right next to a traditional incense stick and you will see they are very different and they last much longer, okay? If you want to get your hands on a 50-pack bundle, you know what to do, fourth link below. The quicker you place your order, the quicker I can have it shipped out to you, okay? Other than that, this is going to wrap it up, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have an amazing rest of the day or night wherever you are, and I will see you in the very near future. Peace.